Good morning, students. So far we discussed the typologies of government, the kinds of typologies of government, supranational political systems and national political systems. Now, subnational political system is another important political systems. So, although the national government is the dominant form of political organization in the modern world, but an extraordinary range of political forms still exist below the national level government. So there could be tribal communities. Tribal communities are the political structural systems, and villages and towns and their government forms, and regions and provinces and their governments and their powers and their authorities, and the political structure of complex areas of urban and suburban governments, and the great political and administrative powers and systems of the cities and metropolises. So these are the different. There are various types of political systems in subnational political system. The first subnational political system is tribal communities. In tribal communities, the typical organization of humankind in its early history was the tribe. Actually, in primitive stage of human life, we can find people living in the tribes. So tribe was the earliest political form, or the earliest administrative method of implementing the political power and political authority. In many parts of the world, still the tribal communities play an important role in exhibition of political power. So some of the examples of modern Germany, still we can find Bavarian community and Saxony community, Westphalia community, and they maintained their identity since the days of Germanic tribal settlements. So we can still find the tribal influences or the intervention of tribes in their political administrations or political powers still today. In many of African countries, we can find the tribal government. The tribe or ethnic group is still an effective community and a vehicle of political consciousness. Most African countries are the successors of the administrative units established by the colonial regimes and owe their present boundaries to the often arbitrary decisions of imperial bureaucracies or to the territorial accommodations of rival colonial powers. So in African countries, still we can find this kind of the tribal form of government and the tribal form of political powers of executions, and tribal loyalties continue to hamper nation building efforts in some parts of the world where tribes were once the dominant political structure. So one of the dominant political structures in the history or in the world is tribal tribes. The second type of subnational political system is rural communities. The village has traditionally been contrasted with the cities. The village is the home of rural occupations and tied to a cycle of agriculture life, while the inhabitants of the city practice many trades and commerce, and the economy of city is founded on commerce and industry. But whereas the village is an intimate association of families, while the city is the locus of mass population, and the culture of the village is simple and traditional and informal, while the city is the center of arts and sciences, and the culture is a formal, and the complex cultural development can be found in cities. Historically, the village has been ruled by the informal democracy of face-to-face discussion in the village council, or by a headman whose decisions are supported by village elders or by other cooperative modes of government. Urban government has never been such a simple matter, and monarchical, tyrannical, aristocratic and allegoric forms of rural have flourished in the society, in the city political structure. In the villages, life is more simple and more stable. Society is more stable in the villages, and in the city, the individual becomes anonymous. The contacts between the people are mainly formal, and the standing of the individual or the family society is subject to rapid change in the cities. So this we can find the difference between cities and rural and the villages. How the cities, the political structure of the cities. Cities first emerged as complex forms of social and political organizations in the valleys of the Euphrates and the Tigris, the Nile, the Hangui, the Yanch. So historically we speak, these were the cities, and the early cities broke dramatically with the patterns of tribal life and the rural societies from which they sprang. Specialized functionaries in the royal courts became responsible for supervising new kinds of governmental activities. Many developments contributed in the growing centralization of cities, and barter was replaced by more effective systems of exchange, and the wealth generated in commerce and the specialized city traders became both an object of taxation and instrument of power. Class distinction emerged as a result of a division of labor. As advancing technical developments, a military order and professional soldiery were created and trained in new techniques of welfare, and a class of enslaved persons provided the workspace for large scale of projects of irrigation, immigration, fortification and royal architecture. A very different form of city life emerged among the Greeks. Although cities are no longer independent, the almost universal increase in urban population has made them more significant and important than ever before as centers of human activity. The political organization of modern cities differ from country to country. Every country, even within the same nation state, there are often different and there are often important contrasts in the structures of the city government. In the United States, for example, the principal types of city government are usually distinguished: the council manager form, the mayor council form, and the commissioner form or commission form. So this we can find in cities' political structure. The fourth kind of subnational political system is what is regional government or regional political system. In many contemporary national political systems, the force of history and administrative necessity have joined to produce regional communities at an intermediate level between the local and the national community. In some cases like Swiss canton or English county, the German land, the American state. So these we can find the regional communities, and these regional communities have their own political structures and institutions and exercise their own governmental functions. In other cases, the territorial community is a product of ethnic, cultural, linguistic, physiographic or economic factors and maintains its identity without the support of political structures. Examples of these regional governments like French regional community or Gulia, another important autonomous regional community, and Italian regional community. So they are the best examples. The Port of London Authority is another example of this kind. The New York and New Jersey also are other examples of regional form of governments. Thank you.